John is my colleague. He's the head of institutional sales at SINEGY. I'm one of the co-founders of SINEGY. And I'm from the finance and strategy division of the company, and I do a lot of trading within the company.
Oh, okay, okay.
And yes, as Kelvyn mentioned, I'm John. So ICOs, anybody who wants to trade with us on the corporate side.
Oh, I see.
The name is actually what it suggests, right? Actually, what we're trying to do is actually building a platform where you can actually swap digital tokens for one another, right? So it's a sort of a converged platform where you can swap digital assets for one another, right? So we started off in July last year, and we started off the business running an OTC desk for the first 6 months of 2018. Subsequently, we just launched our marketplace, which is an exchange, end of August. Okay, that's a good question. Actually, if you think about, remember that I was using the example earlier, right, whereby, okay, first of all, I believe that we are the first Fiat-Cryto exchange which offers a rebate. So if you understand the concept of maker and taker, right, maker of liquidity, taker of liquidity, which means if you come to SINEGY Marketplace and you place an order to buy 1 BTC at 26,000 and the order is represented on the order book, right, you're considered a maker of liquidity. So someone comes along and then sells to you, he's actually a taker of liquidity. So on SINEGY Marketplace, when you place an order to buy that 1 BTC, you actually earn 0.25% commission. So what we're doing is we're charging the taker 0.50%, and then we're taking half of that and we're rebating to the customer, to the client.
Do you have any?
Yeah, I mean, so both Kelvyn and myself are from the finance line. So Kelvyn was a market maker in the US for a big US broker. I also worked for a US broker bit in London, and I was an analyst. So the way we add value to SINEGY and the platform is basically bringing knowledge from fiat finance, as I like to call it.
The traditional finance.
Traditional finance. Taking the way things work there well, like I have for many, many years, and bringing them over to crypto, basically. So the rebate, the maker-taker rebate, that's typical market making speak. That's how he used to do his business when he was trading equities. And it's something that's quite rare in crypto markets. There's very few exchanges out there, almost none in fact, that offer market makers liquidity.
On some crypto exchange, you can see they actually offer a rebate, but to Fiat-Cryto, I believe we are the only one that does it, right? And I think even when we talk to our clients who are traders on our platform, I think a lot of them are not very familiar with the concept of maker-taker, right? So which is why we are spending more time doing classes and teaching people how to trade, teaching them basic trading strategies like arbitrage on cryptocurrencies, and teaching them how to earn a side income by doing it.
Although we've only been around for just a little over a year, we started arbitraging between Bitcoin and Ethereum, between Europe and Malaysia. We learned a lot doing that. We then moved to market making on P2P, so the local Bitcoins, Romatano, those sites. We learned a whole lot of lessons there as well. We then went to direct trading so a brokerage desk, OTC. So clients would call us up looking for a price in Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, and a few others, which you can see at rates.synergy.com. That was our OTC desk. We did pretty well over a 6-month period. We traded notional $16 million US over that 6-month period, and then that was all funding and building the development of our exchange marketplace, which launched for beta testing in August, and is now we're up to 700-800 users on for the first month. We had our highest volume trading day on
Monday.
On Monday.
Was it yesterday? No, it's a few days ago. Yeah, highest trading day on Monday. So essentially, I mean, when I talk about the rebate feature, right? So assuming you were to buy 1 Bitcoin at 26,000, I believe the rebate is about 67 ringgit, right? So it's actually quite substantial, right? And I mean, and to go back a bit further to tell you more about the company, actually, we should thank our investors, right? So basically, when SINEGY started, we raised about 1.25 million ringgit from family and friends. So they gave us a valuation of about 5 million ringgit. And it's been over a year for us. Obviously, it's already now coming up to November. But SINEGY is actually a profitable company. We're not in the green yet. We haven't made back all the money that we have spent. But then we're actually a profitable company because of our trading operations.
I see,
Yeah.
I see.
It's actually okay. So we actually report to Bank Negara, right,
Okay.
which is a central bank of Malaysia, and what they do is they are not giving out licenses for crypto exchanges, but what they're doing is whoever is in the business trading crypto, you have an obligation to actually be a reporting entity. So we're considered like the first line of defense, right,
Yeah.
to try to help Bank Negara in supervising, money laundering or terrorist financing, for example. So we were told at our first meeting with Bank Negara that very, very important to not do business with people in sanctioned countries, Iran, North Korea, all these kind of countries. And that's what we do. Essentially every month we send them a report of our trading volume. We give them our balance sheet, our profit and loss statement. And I think what they're trying to do is actually they're trying to capture the data to see how big the market is.
Yeah.
What we would like to see them do more is to give us more support, at least on the banking channel side, because I think what is happening is when the central bank doesn't support centralized exchanges, the volume naturally goes to P2P, and when it goes to P2P, it's very prone to scams. I mean, even for us, while we were trading P2P for over the duration of maybe 4 or 5 months, right, we encountered 3 scams easily, right? And almost every trader that we've spoken to who has traded P2P have encountered some sort of a scam, right? Some in quite large numbers, like 70,000 ringgit, 200,000 ringgit. And for us, right, I mean, if for crypto to go mainstream, right, it should still happen on a centralized level so that these scams cannot prevail, right? And these are the scams that we believe is giving crypto a bad name, because every time a scam happens and a police report is made, right, it's always Bitcoin, and then the banks will just, oh, it's a scam again, and what is it on, or Bitcoin again. So naturally the banks they don't look upon crypto as a good thing, right? Because every time it's always related to a scam. But I think those are the things that can be set straight, right? If let's just say a centralized exchange can function properly, right?
Yeah,
Right.
true.
So to answer your question, we're not regulated officially.
Okay.
There is no licenses offered. We don't have any protection which you would get from regulation. But we are, as Kelvyn mentioned, a reporting entity, and it's something that we, since inception, we thought very hard, and we were very, right from the off, convinced that the only way to do it was to do it within the bounds of the law. And being from the finance line, we both know what KYC means, what AML means, how we both had to deal with compliance officers when when Kelvyn was trading.
In order to trade stocks for the bank, I think I had to take three professional papers, right? I don't know about you.
You did Series 7.
I did Series 7, Series 63, Series 55.
I was FCA regulated, so I'm an FC regulated person in the UK still, and all that meant being from that line, we instituted full KYC on every user that comes into our platform, without it, before it was even a requirement. Once Bank Negara came out with its guidelines last, what was it?
The guidelines was first quarter.
Yeah, Q1.
First quarter.
So Bank Negara came out with Q1 guidelines, and what that meant, that created this reporting entity status. We went to Bank Negara. There was a meeting. We were effectively told we have to institute KYC. We have to, have these reporting obligations, and we have to keep data. And we've done it. And any user that comes into marketplace has to do KYC before they can trade. 1 ringgit worth of anything.
If you notice, when you onboard onto a crypto exchange, right, it's usually very easy to onboard on a crypto to crypto exchange because they do very little checks on you, right? Because it's unregulated. So on a fiat to crypto exchange level, right, depending on which platform you use, some platform only requires you to submit an email. They'll allow you to trade maybe up to $1,000. Then when you want to trade bigger amounts, they'll force you to do level 2 KYC or level 3 KYC. So for Synergy's exchange, right, or even our OTC rates, we immediately force the user to do level 3 KYC. That means
It puts us at a disadvantage because we can't.
the user experience is you know, basically you have to do more work to get on the platform, but once you're on the platform, you have the ability to trade more, right? Meaning the limits are higher, and you know, and for our side also, the data that we collect is even it's actually more useful, right? And occasionally we will do checks on, you know, like we're talking to actually a few vendors right now where we can actually do KYC, even AMLA checks, you know, like we have CTOS in the office, for example, for us to check, especially on foreign customers. So we actually had this Iranian guy who tried to open an account with us, and we did a CTOS check on him, and you know, we found out that he was supposed to be, you know, like, you know, he was arrested on espionage, you know. So these are
some interesting. But that's why we need the checks, and that's why we have them in place. It does put, you know, with
the trust and all that.
It does put us in a disadvantage because platforms that don't do any KYC, they can just onboard people very, very, very quickly. And so that's why our stance as a company is pro-regulation. We want regulation because we abide by the rules. And once we get regulated, hopefully that will be the next step. Once we get regulated, we'll then have the protection that, you know, essentially we deserve for following the rules. And, you know, hopefully that will,
you know,
help grow the market.
I mean, like what John mentioned earlier, from the traditional finance world, and obviously we are believers in the crypto economy, right? Because we believe this is a new asset class, right? Imagine for once, right, you know, you can trade an asset 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right? Stocks you can trade 9:30 to 4, Forex 5 days a week, Saturdays and Sundays is closed, right? So this is something truly unique. But even our friends in the industry, right, we can't convince them to take crypto seriously because
due to the scam.
They just say, well, I'll take a closer look at it once the regulators say it's okay. Once regulations step in, I'll think about investing in it, but not before then, you know. So it's inevitable for regulators to have to come in, you know.
I mean, and I think the final point is that around us, you know, just what last month Binance announced that they're building a Fiat-Cryto exchange in Singapore. That's with the consent of MAS, Monetary Authority of Singapore, and a big investment from Vertex, which is an arm of Temasek. So, you know, on our doorstep, and you know, all around Southeast Asia, there's regulation that you know, the Japanese have been way ahead of this for a long time. In the US, they're probably the second in the pecking order for regulation because they have the District of New York, the State of New York's Department of Financial Services giving bit licenses and regulating stable coins like GUSD and et cetera. So it feels like a race. It feels like a race to me because there's first mover advantage for having a regulated crypto economy because for example, if Malaysia beats out Singapore and everyone else in the region, then that business comes to Malaysia and it stays in Malaysia.
That's good.
So that's why I think
job opportunities, you know.
And that's what we want, right? Whereas if we let the Singaporeans or, you know, the Indonesians or whatever, they get there first, then that's Malaysian money flowing out into other countries around.
So you're bringing it in now.
Yeah.
There's actually different people, right? So within the company we have 4 developers. We have a UI UX designer, multimedia designer, we got project managers, we've got traders in charge of trading strategies.
Okay.
John, like corporate sales, right? Then there's even business development people, admin slash legal, right?
The interns at the moment.
Secretary, accountant,
Okay.
2 interns, and the thing is, even though you might think that 16 people in Synergy as a startup, right, is a lot of people, but we all wear multiple hats. As in, like, I could be trading one moment, and then the next thing is I could be helping someone do a withdrawal or whatever, because it is really a startup.
CEO and customer support.
It's like it's a startup. That's what it is, right? And there's that hungriness feeling in the company, lah. So I mean, I learned a lot. Like John said, the learning curve has been really steep, even for that 1 year, right? Trading P2P, having a centralized exchange, trading on all the different platforms, and learning which platform has the better user experience and all that. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to gather all this experience to actually build an even better platform. Yeah. So, but it will be interesting because like I was trying to tell you about the DEXI token, right? So the DEXI token is actually listed on Coinex, which is now labeled as liquid.com, right?
Okay.
So when you trade a DEXI token and ICO, right? When you sell the DEXI token,
It's
you
a
get back.
Malaysian ride-hailing app.
Right, so they're actually based in KL. So when you sell the DEXI token, you get back Ethereum, and then you need to convert the Ethereum back to fiat, right?
Yes.
So with Synergy Marketplace, because the assets can be swapped for one another, right?
Okay.
So we call it the cross order book feature. That means you can list DEXI token to whatever is listed on Marketplace. So if MYR as a fiat pairing is listed on Marketplace, Sing dollar is listed there, USD is listed there. Immediately that DEXI token, if you wanted to, you can pair it to MYR, SGD, or even USD.
So at the
So
moment
you
we
don't
have
need to go through like in middle Ethereum.
You don't. You can straight convert.
at the moment we have someone signs up, does KYC, deposits funds. They can trade Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, and MKTP, which is our own utility token. Which, you know, if you trade Ripple, Ethereum, or Bitcoin against MKTP, it's much cheaper. I think it's 1 ringgit on
Bitcoin.
yeah, 1 Bitcoin. If you trade with MKTP, it costs you about 1 ringgit. It's also for any ICO projects out there if they want to get listed on our platform, because right now we only have those 4 coins listed. The next one will be a stable coin, and then after that, first come first serve.
Yeah.
I mean, we will list. We'd like to list Steam, because there's a large Malaysian community, Steam community.
Yeah.
So that will probably be the next one, and then after that, there's also NEM, which is quite
You're
soon.
really into Southeast Asia.
Yeah, we want to support local
Yeah.
projects,
Yeah.
but I mean, the point I was making is that any ICOs, especially local, especially in
Yes.
Southeast Asia, who's got a decent project and wants to get listed on an exchange locally with a fiat pairing, the listing fee is MKTP, and it's by far the most competitive listing fee in the world. I'm pretty sure on that. It's these aren't Binance prices. These are not Binance prices. So if there's any ICOs out there that want to inquire,
Yeah. First of all, what we normally do is before we list the token, we would actually pay a visit to Securities Commission and inform them of these tokens that we're planning to list. So we're not actually there to ask for their consent, but in fact we're just there to inform them that this is what we're looking to do. And then what we'll normally do is we'll tell...
just to step
Yeah,
in.
sorry.
The reason we have to check with SC is because we have to make sure it's not a security token.
Okay.
A utility token we can list. A security token right now with no regulations and no licenses, we can't list a security token.
Even if we, like for example, if we were to list a security token, right, we have to make sure that the security token is, the company is incorporated somewhere, maybe in Malta where it's friendly and stuff, right, and we have to be very careful about the capital raising site that they will be doing from Malaysia, because this falls under the purview of Securities Commission.
I see.
Yeah. So I mean, the future is security token, but once again, is the regulators would have to set the guidelines, right? utility tokens, we've been told if it's pure utility, then the SC is more lax lah, right? But we will still check with them, and normally, because we're an exchange, right? There's a lot of companies that come to us. Oh, okay, you're gonna list me. Come, let's do a press conference and stuff. And what we normally tell them to do is like, okay, if you are serious about what you're trying to do, perhaps contact the SC and inform them about the project. And if they are not willing to do that, that's the first red flag. Right.
And then we'll look at the tokenomics, the white paper, the GitHub, the team. We'll meet the people. We've had a few projects, and we'll have to meet the people behind them.
Team is important
because it's a risk to our business. If it's a a dodgy guy who's raised a quick buck and wants to exit scam, we don't want to. That's an issue for us. We can't be listing tokens.
At the end of the day, you'll be harmful, right?
And we also have to build liquidity on the platform.
I mean, we'll at least do our best to prevent it, right? I think for sure, I'm sure when one day we have 100 tokens listed on the platform, I'm sure some of them will be scammed, right? I mean, but we will at least try to do as much due diligence first, right?
Even if it's not a scam, it could have raised money in the US and also they hadn't done any KYC on their ICO, and they had someone on a sanctioned country and US investors in that pool. Effectively, that's breaking the law. Like, that's why ICO projects have to do KYC, because you can't raise money in the US and have people like in North Korea or in Iran also investing in your project. I mean, one of the things we're exploring. I mean, so our NKTP token is going to be Malaysia's first IEO, so initial exchange offering. So you can log into the platform and actually buy the token from the sell side right now, and then once we get to the listing date, then that's an ICO, and then at the end, once the hard cap is reached or the time limit comes to an end, it's listed on the platform. And so where we might take that service forward is that if projects out there want to do ICOs but don't have the skill or the manpower, or they don't want to spend the money on doing KYC, they can leverage our KYC by letting us, directing their investors to, basically do an IEO on Synergy Marketplace. So we can run all their investors into the ICO. We can handle
we can do a CTOS check to make sure that the KYC clears.
And then once they end their sale, they have an immediate listing on a Malaysian platform. So that's another service we're exploring.
Well, in terms of development in the company, right? So the exchange is live. Right now, we're at the beginning of stage 2 development. The most important thing for us right now is to add 2FA for security, right? And also to integrate BitGo's wallet services. BitGo, yeah. So BitGo is a wallet provider, right? I think last week Goldman Sachs invested 15 million into them. So we'll be using them, and so that is going to improve the user experience.
So right now it's a bit manual.
It's a bit manual now, but then we believe that towards the end of the year this will be up, right?
Which means instant withdrawals for crypto. So at the moment, any funding or deposits have to be approved by customer support.
Administrator.
Right.
An administrator.
Once we integrate BitGo as a wallet provider,
the crypto portion can be automated.
Yeah, so instant, so people can bring their crypto in, take it out instantly. Obviously, there's always some form of delay on the fiat side.
The network, right? The transmission on the network.
And then I think, there's a few things on the development side, BitGo, then APIs and stuff like that.
API documentation is what we're working on also, because there are a lot of arbitrage traders, right? So what happens is they're actually arbing the price in Malaysia across, let's say, an exchange in Europe, right? So what they want is they want our API so that they don't need to manually key in buy and sell orders.
Okay.
They just set a percentage. For example, okay, let's say in Europe, Bitcoin is trading at 6,004. So they set 1% higher in Malaysia to sell and 1% lower in Malaysia to buy. So with our API, the orders can just replace, cancel, replace, cancel, replace, cancel, replace. So every time they get a trade, they know that it's 1% profit. Right? So that's what that's what the API documentation is for. Yeah. To automate trading.
I think in terms of funding, we're very, very close to being ready to go for like pre-series A or Series A.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. We're looking at a crowdfunding platform. I think we can mention it, right? Bank to the Future. They've been very supportive of crypto projects, right? So we're gonna try to use them for crowdfund. Bitfinex raised about $50 million from Bank to the Future. I think Bitstamp raised about $4 million USD. So we're gonna try to raise some funds from there and see how it goes.
What would be the fund for? I mean, in future, what can we expect?
Definitely into talent acquisition. Talent acquisition. I mean,
Okay.
to be honest, we have faced a lot of brain drain, right? And a lot of good coding talents. They're either in Singapore. They're not here because they're not enough. They don't earn as well here, right? So it's very hard. I mean, we posted on JobStreet for months, paid for premium listings, couldn't get candidates. Eventually, we had to go to what these guys call? Sorry, a Canadian guy that found my contact on LinkedIn and said I can try to source for you these programmers. But you know what? If you find a good programmer, even in Indonesia, right, it's still hard for them to make the move, right? So what we hope to do is that when we raise enough funds, we can probably set up a small office in perhaps China or maybe even US, right, and hire coding talents from there. Most likely China because US will be times 4.16.
Yeah, I mean, it's expand. Like we have aspirations to bring out. We have the current platform of the exchange, which is marketplace, and then we want to bring out like a pro trader package, which is going to have trading view integration, the works basically. And we don't have enough developers to do that. It will be 5 years down the line before that. I mean, I'm exaggerating. It'll be at least a year away, right?
Okay.
But we want it now, and so we need to expand on that side. Probably get a compliance officer.
Definitely development.
And customer support
a lot
as we grow.
a lot more. I think a lot more developers. I think from the finance angle, we're pretty covered. I mean, we're pretty covered. And then also to capitalize ourselves, for example, in the States, some of the banks there are very friendly to crypto. So one of our aspirations is to actually get a bank account there, right? I mean, these are the small things that are important to an exchange like ours, right? Because, for example, if the banks continue to not be supportive of our business, then perhaps we will have to, move at least our bank account to a different country. They are supportive. Access Malaysia, Colbert, like he was the one who we first met, in the crypto world in Malaysia, and then he's made a lot of great interaction for us, right? And actually the community is not that big, right? I think it's maybe within like 100 people, I think,
And I love MDEC. MDEC were the ones that the company basically sponsored my visa through MDEC.
Okay.
So I'm living in Malaysia thanks to MDEC. So those guys are great.
Okay.
The community is still small in Malaysia for crypto. As I was telling you earlier, right, the Telegram chat for Penang cryptocurrency I think has less than 100 people. It's still a small community, but they are supportive. At the same time, I think they also want to see what we can do. So which is reasonable for anyone, right? I think they are more supportive now than before, at least because now they see the platforms that we put out, and like maybe one thing that we pride ourselves on is good customer service, right? So hopefully, they will they see those extra benefits that we've given them, and they continue to support us on the journey.
I see.
for sure, John being the
Mhm.
institutional sales guy, a lot more projects are in KL.
Mhm.
So eventually John will be spending maybe half his time in KL. So he's requested to the company to get a co-working space for him. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Definitely, you guys have really good potential and get a co-working space for free.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yes. I think he kind of likes the one in KL Central.
It's a nice location.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few around, and we do have to spend more time here. Hire, you know, I actually a few weeks ago I did the KL Blockchain Week.
Mhm. Okay.
I went to Blockfest.
All right.
That was really good. They did a really good conference. Really good content. It wasn't like a lot of these conferences these days where it's just ICO pitch after ICO pitch after ICO pitch and blah, blah. You know, they actually, all the speakers were pretty much told not to hard sell.
Okay.
And so what we got was, it was a really good blockchain conference, some really good content, and I would definitely go to another Blockfest, wherever their next one is. I think they're organising events elsewhere in Southeast Asia. But yeah, I mean, that KL is where the events happen, and it's, you know, it's we've got to just, we have to you know, attend and be part of these things to build the Malaysian community. It is there. It's bigger in KL, and I think it is growing, and it will grow, especially when this market turns around. But yeah, we're trying to support and get involved as best we can.
For us, it's always been South. I mean, the focus will be Southeast Asia first, right? So I mean, where we have set up actually. So SINEGY Malaysia, we've set up SINEGY Singapore. You know, we even have in fact 2 bank accounts there. We set up SINEGY Thailand. We even already have a bank account there. We set up SINEGY Hong Kong. We haven't had the time to fly there to actually sign the papers for account opening. But these are the primary places that we are planning to go into. It's just that we have to do it by stage, right? And we still feel that Malaysia is where we have the best potential, because, you know, being here, you know, we can relate to the people here. We can get, you know, we can get these kind of interviews, and, you know, like
True.
yeah, publicity and all that. Yeah.
Definitely, right. So I hope to see you guys more often
Yeah.
in the blockchain field and all that.
Sure,
Right.
sure.
So thank you for this conversation today.
No problem.
And
Thanks.
I really
Thanks for the
like this.
interview.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.